I was just laughing when you say you know yourself better than me. I'm still getting to know myself. So for you guys, here's what I understand is that we have 15 minutes and then we're gonna have 10 minutes of Q&A. So what I wanted to do was to give you guys at a high level some thoughts that I'm recently having around how we navigate what we're going through. And so the things I share with you today will not make you immune from what's going on. It'll just give you a framework and mechanism to think through this. So what I'm going to ask, I'm hearing a little squeaking on the background, is if everybody can put mute, it may clear up some of the, it's been my experience, may clear up some of the noise that's there. So again, this, with what you guys are going through, listen, you guys are trying to figure out, hey, when do we open? Then you're trying to figure out, well, who do we open with? You're trying to figure out who's going to stay on unemployment, who's going to come back. Do we space these 6 feet apart, these chairs? What manufacturers are we going to work with? Do we raise the price of color? I don't want to negate any of that, and I don't want to minimize it. What I'm here to do is just to give you a new thinking, because what you do, it's not a well-planned strategy that works, it's a well-executed strategy, because you guys are going to see from your peers and yourself, there's going to be people, multiple people execute the exact same strategy and direction, yet you're going to get dramatically different outcomes to it. So we're going to jump in. Again, it's going to be at a high level. I'm going to monitor time and make sure I keep that commitment to you. And then we'll open it up to questions that you guys have. So to jump in here, I want to give you guys just an overview, and feel free to take a picture of any of the slides that we have here. But here are the 9 traits. And where this came about is I was seeing a lot of presentations with this exact title, How to Lead During Crisis. And as I was watching them, I was thinking, you know what? These are the exact same skill sets you need, whether you're in crisis or not. And so I wanted to spend the time with you guys, and you guys come with a little bit different experience and a lot of it. And so anything I share with you, my gift won't be knowledge. There's a good chance you guys know this. In fact, you could Google anything I'm going to say. I ask that you not do it while I'm speaking because it hurts my feelings. Here's what I'd share with you. If I have a gift and a goal today, it's new thinking, different thinking, and deeper thinking. And I want to model that for you because I believe that your execution has everything to do with your people's thinking and emotions around the behaviors that you're going to ask them to do. So the first thing I want to talk about is respect. And some of these things you're going to go, listen, this is common sense. I'm not arguing that. What I want to challenge you guys with is this common practice. And so I start with respect. There's a social psychologist, her name's Amy Cuddy. You may have heard of her. She wrote this book, Presence. And in her research, she found that intuitively, human beings seek out 2 things in every interaction, trust and respect. And so we're going to speak about trust a little bit as well. And so for you guys, what I want is to share this with you, and that this becomes a filter for how you make decisions. And it's important because as you deal with your people, what's imperative now, someone said, give me last night 1 piece of advice, which, it's like the Miss America pageant, that one question. Here's what I'd share with you, I'm finding, is that it is hard not to judge during this time. So you're going to judge whether people wear a mask, whether they stay at home, whether they go to church, whether they eat out, all this judgment. We're here to help. And it's imperative that you have these sustainable strategies in the way you approach things. And if your thinking is, I'm not here to judge, I'm here to help, it's going to incorporate this respect you need. So as an example, you guys are going to get this question, why should I come back to work when I can stay on unemployment and I can make more? Now, as an owner, and listen, I'm not immune for what you're going through. I have 2 partners. We have a small company in addition to this work. We had to furlough everyone. And, as owners, they don't have the heart and the mindset we do. and we run the risk, my partner and I, we got to catch ourselves that we're judging people's actions, how quickly they return a call, whether they reach out to clients. And so some of the people, it has come up, well, why should we come back? Because the first 8 weeks, there's the potential we could make more than we do at work. And someone said, well, how do you handle that? And you handle it with respect. So I would ask someone, if they said, you know what, I'm going to stay on unemployment versus coming back to work, what's important to you about staying on unemployment? Because in a respectful way, I want to better understand what their thinking is. And if someone says, well, I can make more money there. And so you say, you know what, I hear from you what's important is making money. They said, yes. And they said, how long do you feel as though that you could continue down this path with unemployment? And they may say 26 weeks, or they may have read a little deeper and heard that there's a potential to go to 39 weeks. I'd ask them, so that covers the 39 weeks or 9 months. What are your thoughts on how it'll impact your income and your ability to make that money once you come back? And what are your thoughts on what your clients are going to do? Are you anticipating that they would go to someone else and then come back to you? And so what you're doing there is you're showing respect. You're honoring their intelligence and their thinking. And trust me, as a leader, it makes things easier for you. You don't have to solve everyone's problems. And so when I say respect, I want to take it to a different level. Now, here's something that's very hard to do in our political climate and our economic climate, is that we have a tendency to respect people that we respect. And that's the nuance where we've created this gap in society as far as where we communicate and what's eroding it. Because you can be respectful without respecting someone. And I think it's imperative that people have that skill set to navigate what we're going to go through and how you're going to execute your strategies. Because I guarantee you, not judging is hard. One way or another, your brain will jump in to quote unquote protect you with this. If your emotional intelligence is high, you can realize what's going on. You can say, how can I be respectful even though I don't respect you? Because I will tell you, there's been some decisions our employees, and I love them to death, that I may not respect. And you will have the same thing. How can you show up and be respectful? And I'm sharing this with you because there's another webinar that I'm doing is how do you change without changing? And what I'm talking about is how do you evolve and innovate and grow, which is imperative during this period, without changing who you are and what you do. And so if you're a respectful person, it's imperative, if that is part of your DNA and part of your core value system, that everything you do shows a level of respect. I'm going to jump to authenticity. And again, seems like common sense. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about common practice, not what the common person know it, it's what they do it. And the authenticity purely comes in is that there's this congruency in what you say and what you do. And we're struggling as a society to be congruent in what we say and we do. And it changes by the day and it changes by the circumstances. And if you're trying to build trust, which we're going to talk about, a large part of trust is congruency and predictability. They lead to trust. And I want to hold off because I'm going to spend a lot of time on trust, but please write that word down. But know that authenticity is an imperative ingredient to this trust that you're going to need. All right, communication. Here's what I would share with you. Do it early and often. I'm reading this great book, and I hate to make book recommendations. I'm just going to go against what I normally do. But it's called Never Split the Difference, and it's written by Chris Voss. He's a hostage negotiator. And he said, well, if these things work with hostage negotiations, it should work with day-to-day interactions with your employees. And in the book, one of the things that his story he shared is that when he was doing hostage negotiations, one of the things that he learned is that he would communicate with people early and often, to the point that if he was doing hostage negotiations, the person that was looking to get the hostage out, whether he had an update or not, he would say, I will communicate with you every day at 4:30. And what happens is it helps people psychologically to know it's a finite amount of time till I'm going to have some update, some engagement, some interaction, even though there's not something new. And he said in the military, which he was in, they would have them go on runs. The worst part, they intentionally didn't tell him how long the run was. So they didn't know, do I run at a 6-mile-an-hour pace, 7-mile-an-hour pace? Is this going to be all day? He said it's pure torture for human beings. And a lot of the people now, their fear is the fear of the unknown. And so one of the things that you can do in the way of communication is to give them this predictability. So as an example, with our company, I give the employees an update once a week on a specific day at a specific time. There's a lot of times I don't have updates. But what they're doing is they know I'm not going to go longer than a day, a week, or two. In our case, it's a week without updates. Obviously, if we have something before, we do share that with them. The next thing is accountability. I'm going to go out on a limb with you guys. I think the level that you're at, you're accountable. I'm not talking about that. It's about how do you hold people accountable within your circle. Because one of the things that can be impacted is if you don't hold people accountable, is all of a sudden, did someone have a question or was that? No, okay, just checking in there. Is if you don't hold people accountable, it's going to affect your accountability. And that's the one of the things I'm learning and navigating with our company, with our suppliers, with the customers, and even with our employees at a certain level, because we still need their engagement. I need them to be held accountable to a certain standard. When they're not, it affects my accountability and it affects people's level of trust with me. And so as a leader, how do you, in a creative way, in a lot of cases, you're having people who are doing work and you're not compensating them, yet there's just kind of this agreement so that we can all make sure there's something to come back to, that we're going to contribute unofficially and using a currency without money. And that is a challenge, is how to lead without leverage, because that's what you're doing now. Technically, they're not an employee of yours, they may be on unemployment. And so I want to put that out, that as you begin to strategize, again, it's not a well-planned strategy, it's a well-executed strategy, is that you have this accountability built in. And you ask this people, how important to you is accountability? That's how I introduce it into their lexicon and their consciousness, is I just ask the question about that word. Now we're talking about it. And then I ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is accountability to you in this and what we're going to do? And what would accountability look like to you? And if you're not being held to this standard, how would you like me to share that with you? The next is lead by example. And again, if you're coming in late to this, I know it seems like common sense. I'm going to say it again because you're going to need to share this with your people, because they're going to say, have you ever shared things with your people? And they go, I know that. And you go, well, why the hell don't you do it? That's what I'm talking about, is bridging the gap between knowing and doing. So lead by example. This accountability, this communication, you're going to have to model this behavior more than ever now. They're not in a thrive mode, they're in a survive mode. Generally, when you look at a culture, they're looking first to survive and then thrive. These people are our people, and listen, our people, meaning me, is very much in a survivor mode. Basically, what I kill today is what I eat tonight, if you guys can relate to that. That's your emotional brain. We need a component of that. We just don't need the downside to that. We need them to engage their rational brain. You leading by example, what it looks like to navigate through these times where there's going to be obstacles thrown at us. I mean, if I don't know what your circumstances are, the PPP, it's not exactly what they described it would be in the way of a time frame. That other business loan, that $10,000 is income just for applying, hasn't exactly happened like that. And so it's not what happens, because we can't control that. It's how we respond to it. And trust me, there's times that my emotions have hijacked my rational brain over the last 2 weeks. And it's the ability to pause in the moment and not react, but respond to the situation. In order for me to respond, I have to pause. I have to constantly model this behavior, because they will go now by what they see, not what they hear. And guys, bear with me. I'm not being rude. I'm about a minute over what I committed to you guys. So I'm going to ask for permission. We will, whatever the finite time is, will end there. I just want to share these things, and I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to reach out to me directly if you want to as well.
Huh?
So
just warm up this one.
we're okay? I'm hearing voices. Is that just in my head, or is that, you guys have made me feel better, because I do hear voices in my head. So the empathy part. So here's the part I want to share with you. And listen, any one of these warrant a much longer conversation. This is to introduce concepts and thinking into your strategy when you implement your plans. Here's what's important to know about empathy. We happen to be in an industry that probably well over 90% of our people are empaths, meaning they take on the thinking and the energy of the people around them, which is a phenomenal attribute. What I want to share with you, I mentioned it's an attribute, you may be born with it. Empathy, not being an empath, but empathy is a skill that you can learn. I will share with you, and I'm not proud of it, it's just the way I am. I'm not an empath. I do not take on the energy and the thinking of the people around me. However, I have learned the skill of empathy, and I can be empathetic. Don't ask my wife about that, but for other people in my life, I can be empathetic. And I want to share that with you. If you're not naturally wired that way, is that you learn these skills of empathy. And empathy can show up in asking questions. It's a great way, especially if you don't understand or you feel that you're predisposed to a decision. Empathy can show up by, hey, tell me more about that. Empathy, it can show up as an acknowledgement. I'm not talking about validation. So if people go, this is the worst thing I've ever seen, you don't have to go, yeah, this is the worst that I've ever seen. Because that's validation, and you may not feel that way. Acknowledgement is that, listen, it sounds like you're going through some challenges you've never gone through before. If I was going to be of help to you conversationally, which are the ones that are challenging you most as it relates to your work situation? And so I'm going to talk to you guys directly, and as I hope to create a compelling human case for everything I do. And for those of you who don't care about humanity, a compelling business case. And all joking aside, I'm going to talk to you from a business perspective. Now, we do not, I can't speak for you. I don't have the capacity right now to be a psychologist, nor is it my skill set. It doesn't mean I can't show empathy. The decisions that I need now are how to build a sustainable business so that my people have health benefits and that they can pay their mortgage. And so when I said I would love to explore those things, that the challenges that you're facing for the first time ever as it relates to your work and have that conversation, is because that's what I need to focus on as their leader now, is how they can get back to work. Because if things were fine before, the only difference now in theory is them not having a paycheck and work. So the best way that I can help them as an owner of a business is recreate that environment. That's why the conversation, the question centered on what are the things that you're experiencing as it relates to work? Or what are you experiencing as ways, your thoughts about how you're going to come back and show up for your clients. So it's not to be inhuman, it's just to really help you, because some of you I recognize, some of you I've met in person, have quite large businesses. And there's a lot of people that you're responsible for. And so I just want to give you a strategy and take this theory to applicability. So it's not to not worry about the human side of things. It's to help them where you can add value, and where they need help from a human perspective, there are resources out there. And they can go, so whether it's a therapist or a friend, but for you to really leverage the bandwidth that you're going to have, because I'd imagine not only are you guys doing it for all these people, you're doing it for yourself personally. And not, when I say personally, that could be your wife, it could be your kids, it could be your spouse, husband, it could be any number of people. The thing I want you guys to also incorporate is, as a leader, you do need vision. I just want to give you a peace of mind. As a leader, your thing is you know where to go. You may not know how to get there, and that's okay. When you look at Martin Luther King, he said, I have a dream. He didn't say he knew how to get there. And if he did, he would have gone there and like sent a postcard back to people. I have a dream. I wish you could be here. That's not what happened. As a leader, he could paint this picture of this place. And I think your gift as a leader now is to paint that vision of where we're going to go and where
I
we
say all the time,
be. So was there a question there? I'm sorry.
Lack of vision, a gross lack of leadership. I think they go hand in hand.
Oh, good. I don't know if that's directed at me, but I do appreciate the validation there. They do. I just want to give you a peace of mind because your people will look at you and as though you should know how to get there. As a leader, that's why you need followers, is to help you get there. And so part of the dynamic of a leader and their followers, they get their significance, their self-worth, and their sense of belonging, which we all need as human beings. Everything we do goes back to that core through you asking for help. And that's how, listen, I'm using Martin Luther King. I could use Gandhi. I could use Mother Teresa, Lakuasa. I could go on and on. I could use you guys. The way that you've been successful is by this collaboration with them. And so let me give you an example. When you talk about that, we're going to have these codes when we come back as it relates to the health codes. And so there's been a long list of potentially what things could be. As a leader, you could come back and dictate those things. And some of them you may believe in and some of you don't. The other option is to come back and tell them, listen, here's what I want to do. I want you guys to trust, and this is imperative that you focus on this, that you can come back to work. Because one of the things that you're going to have to navigate at the forefront, at the top of the list, is do your employees trust coming back to work? And do your clients trust coming back to work? What I would share with you is, and I see this disconnect in communication, is that we're using the same vocabulary and words. We just have different definitions for them. So one of the things I'm extremely mindful of is to ask people how they define their words. So for my employees, I get together on the phone now, and this is something they'll do without pay, and ask them what will need to happen so that you trust coming back to work. Because hear me, if they don't trust coming back to work, how are they going to drive that message? And we're going to get to trust. Trust is the currency in which you operate off of. Your clients need to trust you. Your manufacturers need to trust you. Your education partners, your people, everybody, you need to trust them. And so you're going to need to understand how people define trust, because people will define it differently. And so I would ask them, what needs to happen? They say, well, you know what? We need to wear a mask. And you go, okay, listen, you're going to introduce that anyway. It's not what you say, it's what you get them to say. Go, okay, so we're all going to agree we wear masks. You can check that off the list of the things that are going to be dictated. Now, feel the difference of you going, or you saying, you have to wear a mask. And then you're going to ask them, okay, what else would you like to see? They say, well, I like to feel safe, and I'm not catching it from the person next to me. And you go, well, what does that look like? They go, well, by law, it's supposed to be 6 feet. That's going to be pretty close to what's mandated. So in Italy right now, I think the criteria is for every 400 square feet, there will be one practitioner and one customer or client. So if you're in a retail store, it would be the salesperson and the client. If you're in a salon, it'd be the stylist and it would be the client. You can dictate that, or what they help create is what they will commit to. And what you need more than ever right now is commitment, not compliance. Commitment, when there's challenges, will get them to navigate through all this. They'll even get creative because they're emotionally committed to what's going on. Compliance they'll do because they have to, and as soon as there's the first roadblock or obstacle, they'll push back on it. So the vision is important to you guys, that you do have it. You need to describe this place. It has beautiful white sand and crystal clear water that you can walk in for a mile out with these beautiful palm trees and a soft breeze, about 82 degrees. How we get there, I don't know, but you guys tell me, what are your thoughts? Hey, we're going to need an airplane. Great. How many? A plane for how many? This is where you're going to go as a leader. This is not last. It is in sequential order. It's last for our time here. It is the most important thing. And this trust that you need from your manufacturers, you're going to need from your landlord, you're going to need from your suppliers, you're going to need from your people, you're going to need from your spouse, you're going to need from yourself, is this trust. A trust will be made up of two things. Stephen Covey Jr. articulates it as clearly and concisely and compelling as anyone, so I won't reinvent it. He said this: it's made up of two things, character and competence. And as you look at your people, I gave you an example of the person who didn't want to come back because they made more in unemployment. That's not a competence issue for you guys. It's a character issue. If you can understand that, now you can spend time to understand what's driving that, to either validate it or to discredit what you're thinking, but at least you know what to focus on. And I mean this respectfully, and give me just a second. I'm processing. I want to make sure I choose the right words. I think that competence is important. It has to do with your technical skills, your capabilities, and your results. There's a lot of technical education right now, and I feel as though it's highly important. What I feel is more important is your character at this moment. And so your character as a leader, what your intentions are, and you are going to, more than ever before, have to be clear what your intentions are. Because there is a perception now that everybody's doing things for themselves and self-survival. And I'm struggling with this. You guys are experiencing it because I'm going to have to make some decisions with our company that are self-serving on the surface. But there has to be some preservation with some of these decisions that allow us to have a long-term strategy there. And so as I communicate, it's imperative that I share with everyone my intention is. My intention is to create something that allows you to make plans for a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, not 6 months. And so my intentions is to create an environment that you can flourish in. It's to create an environment, my intention, so that you don't have to worry. The reality is, if we could just put it out there, is that we could look different when we get back. We're certainly going to be more efficient. We're going to be able to do more with less. We're learning how to do that. It may not be the same number of people. We may not have the same resources. We will know that there's going to be some things that require more costs. In order for us to accommodate people's trust level as it relates to the cleanliness of this virus, we're going to have to invest disproportionately in disinfectants and some of those things. There's two things that we can control, our cost of goods and our payroll. I just shared with you, your cost of goods may go up. Through process of elimination, you may have to reduce payroll. In some cases, some of us have. We're making zero money. In order for us to operate, you may have to have conversations where people come back and they're doing the exact same thing they did. And it's not a reflection of their ability or what they bring to the table. It's a reflection of viability, not ability. They're going to have to work for a different amount of money. And the reason I talk about this trust and these leadership skills is because you have their mental, physical, financial commitment. What you need now is their emotional commitment. And that emotional commitment is the ultimate trigger for discretionary performance. And more than ever, you're going to need it. You don't know if you have that until you need it most, which is not the best time to find out. You're going to find out now. we're finding out now. People are going to go, I'm not technically working. By law, I can't do anything. I make more with unemployment. You're going to see where there is mental, physical, financial commitment and where there's emotional commitment. You guys already have people that are going, listen, I'll do anything you need. It doesn't matter. Listen, I love you. I love what you guys have done for me. I do anything for you. I'll work for free for you. So for you guys, what I want to do, I know I've dropped in a lot of things here, and I want to respect the time. And by the way, I have the flexibility to go longer. I just want to respect your attention span. And by the way, that wasn't an insult. I'm finishing a book right now, shameless plug. It's called This versus That, Better Thinking, Better Choices, Better Leaders. And the whole book is written, I'm looking at my whiteboard. It's pivot versus persevere, commitment versus compliance, hubris versus humble. It's these choices we make as leaders. So shameless plug there. Now that'll be June 1st. But a lot of what I'm sharing with you was my experience of where people were struggling is in the choices that they made and in their thinking. That being said, I do have a book called Leave Your Mark, and it's the thinking skills and behaviors of leaders. And during this time, talk about shifting thinking. I made a decision 2 weeks ago. I had to get my mind in the right space, is that currency wasn't going to be part of any relationship I had. So another way to put that is for the next 3 months, anything I did would be pro bono. I had to make a decision here. I just had to. Either I was going to worry about that, or I was going to deselect myself from opportunities and engagement with people through this, or I was going to find a way to be relevant, to be engaged in what was going on, and to add value. And truthfully, to add significant self-worth and sense of belonging in a time that wouldn't be there if I wasn't interacting. So I share that with you because I don't want you guys to think I'm hypocritical. When things change, I do speak about not doing things for free. That being said, this code right here, if you go to my website, you can download an electronic copy of the book or an audio version of the book.
Interesting.
In the next 48 hours, complimentary. And you can do it with your entire team. People are taking it, and in the interim, they're using that for their weekly video calls. You read a chapter, there's an activity. I say activity, like we do one with determining your values. So it's not a trust fall or anything like that. These are things that are integral parts of your business. People have been enjoying it. So that is there for you. And again, it's the electronic copy of the book, and it's the audio version of the book, Leave Your Mark. If you decide to buy the book or the t-shirts, I do want you to know 100% of the profits go towards stopping human trafficking. And I just happen to live in an area, it's something that's very personal to us. So just so that you understand that. So that's what this is in reference to. And you guys have 48 hours and you can send it to whoever you want to do. I share this with you. It's certainly not in a boastful way. As a leader, I had to make a decision. And when I say that you change without changing, is what things could I do that would keep me viable, that would keep me connected, that would keep me relevant, yet without changing who I am. So as an example, it came up on the call last night. Someone said, should I be discounting my prices? So I bit my tongue on that. And, I said, well, tell me about that. Well, people aren't going to have a lot of money. And they said, it sounds like, you're altruistic and you care about the welfare of others. Was that your strategy prior to going in? Was that your point of difference was price? And they said, no. And I said, here's where you're going to have to make a decision, is how do you change without changing? How do you become innovative? I said, I am curious what makes you think that will be the determining factor in people coming back. And they said, let me ask you this, how many salons do you think will be going out of business? Right? And this is not to be flippant or anything. I just want to shift their thinking. She said a lot. And I said, just doing the math, there's probably going to be still the same amount of people who need their hair done, just less places to go. She said, yeah. So I said, it won't be a supply and demand. So tell me what you think the price reduction, what part that plays in who you are and why you got into the business and your business model. And I share that with you because we're going to have to challenge ourselves. We get this, it's called Fresh Plate. I'd highly recommend it. But 3 days a week, they send like food in, because you can't go out to eat and don't really like to cook. So they were late by a day, 2 weeks ago. They sent me $10 off. I thought, they didn't need to do it. It's only one day. This week, same thing happened. They sent me another $10. I called them up. I go, oh my God, I love you guys. This has been great for my marriage. We're not stressing about who's making dinner and who's going to go grocery shopping and what are we going to have. And I said, I love the food and I love you guys. I love that you're working and that you're taking some risks I'm not taking. I go, please stop with the $10. I'm worried you're not going to have any money left. I didn't even think about, that was my gut reaction. Strategically, for Fresh Plate, I don't know that made sense. That was never part of their model. They didn't get feedback with me. They didn't communicate with me. None of those things. So I just want to share with you guys the things that have made you successful, your communication style, your soliciting and the feedback more than ever has to be early and often and on time. You need open, honest, on-time communication from everybody now, from your manufacturers, from your visitors, from your employees, from your clients. I want to encourage you to get that. That'll give you the direction where you need to go. And understand that what works for one may not work for another. So if you don't have a value of flexibility, I just encourage you to visit that, to be flexible without being flexible. And again, I'm not asking you to deviate who you are. And don't do that because that'll be a short-term strategy. Let me throw this out to you guys as well. Can someone give me just a time check, because I don't want to take advantage. I know the whole call was going to be 45 minutes. Can I have permission to share one more thing? Somebody just give me some indicator. Zane?
Sorry, I was muted, but yeah, go right ahead, because anybody who does need to leave can and come back and catch the rest of this on video later.
Okay.
So feel free to do that and then open up to some questions. I know some have been sent by text as well. So
Okay.
do your thing and we'll be here with you.
Okay, I just wanted to respect everyone's time. I want to give examples as we go as well. So I've heard about the gift card strategy. And again, I want to share with you this thinking I'm working through as well. And full transparency, when our manufacturing company, it just shut down. There's no business there, and so there's no income there. I also make money through speaking, and I work in this industry and outside the industry. Everybody was great. They called not only to cancel, but to cancel for the rest of the year. So they said, hey, I don't want to hold up any dates for you. So that was our source of income. And then my wife is a headhunter, a recruiter. She finds people jobs. Her phone stopped ringing a month ago, literally just stopped. So I share it with you because we're in a scenario that may mirror yours or your people. So I just want to share with you any of the things that I'm sharing with you, I too am embracing. I'm not saying they're easy, but that's not what the conversation is. It's still relevant to do. And so I had to shift my thinking. I gave you the example that I'm going to do pro bono work for the next 3 months. And let me tell you, it's been great. I've been doing calls, team calls. I've been doing company calls. They're global. Been working with their. It's been great, and it's opened up opportunities I never thought of would happen. However, if I just said that I'm not going to work, it would have shut those down. Here's the other point I was getting to. I'm sorry about discounting the prices. That doesn't feel good to me. I never feel good discounting my prices. At some point in time, if I'm getting paid less, when I get paid more to do the exact same thing, it doesn't resonate the same. I'm more comfortable with doing it for free or complimentary, or I won't use free, but pro bono, than I am doing it discounted. But that's for me, and it's congruent with what I say and what I do and what I believe, and I can do it and vibrate at the same energy as when I'm getting paid full bill. So for me, whether it's right or wrong, it allows me to be congruent in what I say and what I do. And that was the example of that story.
Yeah.
Comparing things with the gift cards as an example is, let's sell a $100 gift card for $80. And the reason I share with you about where I'm at is because I know what it's like to go, hey, how am I going to pay the mortgage? How am I going to pay, for my meals? Both my boys came back home, which, it's been a blessing, but now, I feel that responsibility as well. You have to think long term. You have to be strategic. It has to be sustainable thinking, just like your products are. It has to be sustainable, thinking that you can repurpose. That's what sustainability is about, is repurposing. And when you sell a gift card for $100 and you take in that money, and then God forbid you take it in for less than that, and you use that money for whatever you use it for, I'm not judging that. And then that person comes in to redeem it, whether it's in a month or 2 months or 3 months or 6 months, and you now no longer have that money to pay that stylist, to pay for that color, or you're robbing Peter to pay. It's not a sustainable strategy. People have said to me, well, what about color kits? I'm not making any judgment. If I have a goal today, it's just to challenge your thinking. When you're done, if you now believe more, you're even firmer in your beliefs, then it was time well spent. I'm not saying whether you do the color kits, I'm just saying how you do it. So for those of you who remember Toys R Us, in 1990, Toys R Us went to Amazon and they said, hey, will you sell our toys online? I'm not saying that was what buried them. It was the beginning of the end. Something shifted in their thinking, and it wasn't sustainable thinking. What they basically said is, you no longer have to see Jeffrey the giraffe. That's no longer part of your toy buying experience. They introduced that thinking to us. With the color kits, you are running the risk. It won't be for everybody. That they can now do something that they couldn't do before, or that you were advocating against. They can do their color at home.
You nailed it.
I'm just sharing it with you.
My instincts and gut of common sense.
Correct.
I see things.
You're getting it validated.
Yeah, here's what I would say is this will either be new thinking, different thinking, or it'll give you a framework to share your thinking. Now, some people say, I just need the money, Jay. And I'm not here to judge by any means how you do that. It's just, how can you do it in a way that's sustainable and congruent?
$40 isn't going to get you.
Now, you can get, one of the things I would share with you, and I'll give you guys a real example, is the code I just gave you. I thought, how can I add value without adding a cost? I'm being transparent with you, but as business owners, you have to think this way. And I thought, I have these electronic mediums that once I've paid for them, they are paid for. But there's a perceived value to them. Do you see how I offer the code? And it's something that's it's congruent with what I say or do. And it doesn't impact me in a way that's detrimental to my longevity. In your business, your stylist, we do consultations. Consultations are free. It's supposed to be the backbone of what we do. I want you to be innovative, to change without changing. Don't change who you are and what you believe in. And we believe that the consultation is the backbone. There's a direct correlation between how well you do it and your retention, your referral, your rebooking, your reviews, and your relationships. What if you take that doesn't cost you anything and you repurpose that? And so with the salon, because this is how it evolved in conversation, I said, what if you just took that thinking and you reached out to each of your clients via social media or email, however you're doing it, and said, you know what, we want to book your complimentary 15-minute consultation. It's still important, and we want to connect with you. Because if you got into this industry, overwhelmingly what I've heard, it's because they love people. They want to make people feel better. They're empaths, they're caregivers. And now you can stay true to who you are. And the truth of the matter is you have some free time. And I draw the parallels because here's the way I describe it to people. They said, oh, you have nothing to do. I said, no, there's some newfound flexibility in my schedule. So that's how I describe what I had. That being said, I could spend it doing any number of things. And I'm not judging, I'm just saying you could do it. I'm busy though. I have scheduled calls. I love doing this. This gives me a chance to connect and to build relationships with people. And so that's where this thinking you can apply to everything you do. It's going to take you to change your thinking, the innovative part, but not change who you are. And these stylists, the next day, they say, Jay, here's our social media post. And we've begun to do this. And one girl said, I've gotten 40 new followers since we've been closed. I didn't know how to engage with them. Now I'm going to reach out to them and tell them that we do consultations, complimentary, 15 minutes, schedule your video consultation. And listen, all of you who've been behind the chair, you know this. It has nothing to do with the haircut, right? They want to connect with you. They want to share with you. It's that gray hair that they're not feeling relevant or they're feeling old. And it may be you talking through it. Some of the feedback that I've gotten from this is one stylist told me she had a woman and she said, Jay, I desperately did not want her to color her hair. I just know her personality type and she doesn't have an attention to detail. And this was going to be horrible. There was no way to avoid it. So when we got on the phone, she said, you know, you've told me about your hat collection for years. Do you mind just showing me 3 or 4 of them? And the woman she said, well, I'd love to. And she showed her the different hats. And she said, here's what I'm thinking. This is an opportunity for you to pull out your hat collection. What if we spent the next 10 minutes? You pick your 3 favorite hats. I'm going to show you how to style your hair. So it doesn't highlight the grays, the roots growing out, but it does highlight some of the features of your face that I love and I know that you love about you. And I'm thinking of your cheekbones, I'm thinking of your chin, and certainly your smile. Do you see how we took a strategy that was, let's do color at home. At one point, we're not applying any of our filters to it. And something that could be detrimental certainly wasn't sustainable. And we introduced our value system, our core values, and delivered in a way that was a smart business decision. And that's the challenge for business now, is how do you change without changing? How do you not change who you are and why you got into this business? Yeah, you change it in the sense that you become innovative. So I just wanted to give you this example of the code. I know it seems like a shameless plug. I just don't want to be hypocritical that I'm sharing all this theory and there's no applicability there. So I'm going to stop now for you guys, and I appreciate you giving me the flexibility, and I'll open it up to any questions you have. But the understanding I may not be able to answer one, so let me just set the bar very low for you guys. Nothing?
Well, what link? What link can you get your books at?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, there you go. Thank you for that prompt there. Yeah, I was thinking about that. So here's how you can connect with me. And again, full transparency, I shared it with you guys. I envision what I do over the next 3 months really being pro bono work. So if you want to reach out and you just one-on-one, you said, hey, I'd like to chat through some of our strategies and just challenge my thinking here or share some of your experiences. If you would like me to do a call for you, and some people are doing happy hour, however, somebody just schedule one for 1 o'clock on a Wednesday, that's okay too. And we could do something either, you know, through a conference call audio, or if you want to do something video, we can do that as well. So that's with the contact information. On the website, it'll tell you a little bit more about some of the workshops that we do and how it's delivered. There's some samples of podcast on there. You can go to the store portion there for the book, the audio with the code, and just drop down, pick the audio code, put it in your basket. They'll ask you for the code. And again, that's for the e-version of the book and the audio version. If you want to text or call me, you can do that as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Zane, so either I articulated it really well, or I bored people to death and they just want an out there.
Well, and I also, if anyone was trying to ask and could not be heard, I had been selectively muting some of the phones that had a little bit of feedback. So you may need to unmute yourself if you had a question. But if you don't, or if one comes to your mind later, you can either contact Jay with the information here or reach out to us at the Intercoiffure Facebook page, which is how we've been doing a lot of our communication. And we will track down any questions or comments and track Jay down. He has been a joy to work with getting ready for this, and just working with him has been insightful. So it's nice to be able to have this kind of data at our hands. So I'll shut up now in case anyone else had something to say.
All right, so here's what I'll do. It's the awkward silence. Is I just want to thank you guys. You know, you guys have a reputation for not only the size, but how you guys execute and how you rally behind the industry and how you support it and being innovators. So I just want to thank Sheila personally. You know, when she asked, it was like, oh, absolutely, I would love to do that. So a lot of your names I recognize and have met probably briefly. I'm looking at some people. I think Howard Hayfitz may have introduced us. I saw Scott on there. I saw the Gamboozes on there. And Frank, I met you once, I think, in Philadelphia. You may have been speaking at the Art of Business event there. So thank you for, you know, sharing this time with me. I know it's valuable. And like I said, please feel free to reach out. Zane, you've been incredibly helpful. If you guys are ever going to do a presentation and you want someone who's incredibly talented, capable, and patient, he's your guy. He's your guy.
Thank you very much for that,
Thank
Jay.
you.
And again, everyone, this will be put online, and we'll put a link on the Facebook page within the next 48 hours so that you can share it with anyone that may wish to see or hear any of the content. And we're going to make it available to the general public so that some of what Intercoiffure is doing can be seen and help others. So thank you, everyone, for calling in. And this will be, at least for the short term, every Thursday we'll be doing this and promoting new speakers and keep things going and keep information flowing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you in
Thanks to
better
everyone.
times. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was
Thanks, Jay.
it was amazing. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot. Thank you, guys. Thank you
Good
so
night,
much.
Jay.
A lot.
You did?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
We're off and running now. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, please feel free to reach out. You know, I learn all the time too, so I enjoy the conversations because it just helps me to give very specific examples and things like that. So if there's some things you guys think I could even benefit.
See all these notes?
Wow,
Yeah.
you are kidding.
Yeah.
Wow, that's the ultimate, it's the ultimate compliment. I appreciate it. So yeah, if there's anything that maybe you guys would even, I'm looking to challenge my thinking too, because, you know, you guys can relate to it, is that people are looking for people who've been through the fire. That's what I realize, not people that are talking about going through it. But, and so some of the things where I don't own a salon, I don't experience it firsthand. And so if you guys have any scenarios that you can share, and either you want to challenge me with, or how would you apply it, or their real life examples, and obviously I wouldn't share your name. I would love to be able to share that back with people too. So it goes both ways. So if you feel as though there's anything you can do to teach me, I would gladly. Just don't charge me for it. Please let it be pro bono is all I ask. That would be great. But thank you. I appreciate the validation. Like I said, please reach out. It'd be great to talk to you guys. Thank you. Good seeing you.
Have a fantastic day. Thank you again.
You too. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.